And then now, so what's the Gihon? The Gihon is the river Nile. Genesis chapter 2, verse 13 shows you that the Gihon was the river that encompassed the whole land of Ethiopia. Some argue that's the Blue Nile. Some argue that it's the whole river Nile. Well, trust whichever one it is. The city of David, Zion, was seen on the west side of the Gihon or the river Nile. The Zion today is nowhere on the west side. It's to the northeast of Africa in general. And I'm not talking about because the Ark of the Covenant is there, it's Zion. You know, I'm highlighting 2 Chronicles chapter 33 during the time of the kings of Israel. That the city of David, according to the chronology of that scripture, just a few years after the death of King David. So you're in King David, King Solomon, around that time when it's being described that the city of David was to the west of the river Nile. Zion, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, to the west of the river Nile. The Bible says so. You know, so I'm just putting that out, you know, because as I said, I train my loved ones how to think. Can't just get carried away and be listening and yeah, man, you know, the man said, boy, you're right, boy. Hey, it's the earth flat for you, you gotta think, take your time and think and be able to rationalize what you're thinking of. You know, because I mean, yo, that's Haile Selassie, the scripture talking about you. So clear. When he said, behold, Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia, what kind of language is that? With Ethiopia. That obviously highlights Ethiopia. Them supposed to behold with Ethiopia because everything is happening in Ethiopia. It's Ethiopian business, this. Make mention of Rahab and Babylon. Behold, Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia. So the way that one may want to think that it's interpreted like, for example, in other words, behold, Philistia, Tyre, and Ethiopia. This man was born there. Okay, that's an arguable point that it could mean, behold, Philistia, Tyre, and Ethiopia. This man was born there. Okay, fair enough. But it's just a strong of an arguable point that it could mean, you know, behold, Philistine, I mean, you know, just the way it's written, Ras. Behold, Philistine Tyre with Ethiopia. I can't even find the next way to put it. Let me see. Philistine Tyre join with Ethiopia as she beholds this great wonder. This man was born there. So Ethiopia is beholding this. Philistine Tyre is supposed to behold with her. That's how it's interpreted, because that's what it is. It's closer to that in its English form than to say, behold, Philistine Tyre and Ethiopia. I think they would have written it like that if that was what it was. No, man. It's behold, Philistine Tyre with Ethiopia. Is Ethiopia celebrating this? This is Ethiopia's joy that this man was born there. And of Zion it shall be said that this and that man was born in her. And the highest himself shall establish her. This scripture shows clearly Haile Selassie is the highest himself. Because Haile Selassie is who established Ethiopia. And the person that established Ethiopia is considered the highest himself, according to this scripture here, Psalms 87. Lord shall count, brother, when he writeth of the people, that this man was born there. So it's as if that's a very important requirement. That you understand that this man, Haile Selassie, that's your 87th Psalm. Family, please don't take it for a joke. Was born there.
That is how them interpret it. The Psalms is written to Mary.
Wow.
The Virgin Mary. The Rasta man take it and him say, there's a specific thing that him use. Him say, with Ethiopia. So because it says with Ethiopia, Bible Rasta, biblical people who are read Rasta who are read the Bible, start to differentiate the old Philistine Tyre with the old Philistine Tyre. Him separate these countries now and say Ethiopia. This man was born there. But it go on and say the old Philistine Tyre with Ethiopia, this man was born there. And him say, and it shall be said that this and that man was born in earth. And the highest himself shall establish earth. So him is now making the city a object, a female. Him said, behold, Philistine Tyre with Ethiopia, this man was born there, and it shall be said that this and that man was born in earth. And the highest himself shall establish earth. And him say now, who am going to register, even the singers and players of instrument will be there. Personally, and I talk for no Rasta, and I talk for nobody, but looking upon the thing over the years, people, you see, sometimes if you want to strengthen yourself in a belief, you look for what will strengthen you, even though the thing not realizing, no have nothing to do with what you think. So, if something say, that you're going to look for something that can strengthen you in that, even though that never talk to you at all. So what I have to know is that a whole heap of Bible person can find solace and comfort in an interpretation of things where man write 4,000 years ago, we never even know why the man did write it. And him that about him don't even know who write it. Because them say Psalms of David, Psalms of Moses, Psalms of this, that and that. Psalms to the kings, you know, people said the Psalms to the king, and people start to say, I got it to talk about. Nobody don't write Psalms to God. Man write Psalms to things people can say. There's the king him talk about. And who was the king? It's King David. It's sent around Mount Zion. Mount Zion in Ethiopia. Rasta put it there, which is part of the, what you call, trying to cut off your foot for fit the shoes. Rasta put Mount Zion in Ethiopia. As a matter of fact, you have a whole heap of Rasta will say, instead of him say heaven, him say Zion. So automatically they might transport and transform heaven into a physical place, which is Mount Zion. Nobody in history, whether the people that are right or not, did ever think, say, Mount Zion is heaven. Because you have Rasta now who, Rasta dead and them same gone as Zion. I thought that you could take a plane to Zion. I never know you have to dead for go to Zion. It's kind of weird. Because, see, where we are fall in the same trap where we are run from. We are go back into something where we never did really want to accept, because we realize, oh, that thing trap we. But now we are finding ourselves now, I suck it up. That man has said, no, Rasta dead and gone as Zion. I don't understand that. And me can tell you, say, me a rebel, go as Zion. So me don't know, me never dead. It's walk, go up there. As a matter of fact, them show 1, 2 months in there, so David Berry. Hey, Tony Rebel. But I don't joke with them. They say all them picture them. No, I Ethiopia, I don't take the picture them. I Ethiopia, I don't take the picture them. But even to that, we don't see the picture there yet, you know. For Ethiopia, you know, but Mount Zion is in Jerusalem. Mount Zion is not heaven. That is an illusion. Say, you're dead and gone at Zion. It's to show the contradiction in the mind when you start to try to interpret some 4,000 years writing where you don't have nothing to do with. You don't have nothing to do with it, but you try to interpret it for suit your thinking and your belief, cutting off your foot to fit your shoes. We, as Rasta, did have something, or have something, where are we created? We created to get free from white supremacy and colonialism. And we use these things over the years. And it did go on and go on and go on till I don't know where it reached a stage where man I say, you have to really penetrate now your interpretation of your liberty and experience have to come through some biblical things were written 4,000 years ago where I don't even know who write it. Nobody don't know who write Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, nor Numbers, nor Deuteronomy. I grew up to come here and say Moses write these things. And we come realize now, say, it can't happen, it not go so. Be so part of what is written in Deuteronomy. All the theologians, them and all the people, them white, realize that, but Moses couldn't write something that way. He couldn't write his own death and which part him bury. It's madness. Plus the wickedness and the cruelty of these people who murder and rape in the name of God, the Israel God. I know that we did not deal with when it comes to Rastafari and Pride Selassie. I know that we did not deal with. We are dealing with a transformation outside of King James. We are dealing with a transformation outside of the King of England. Well, Leonard Owen say, we must have our own king, and Haile Selassie is our own king, our king. So how we make them interpret for we were in slavery. And them use that I done in slavery, you know. Slaves, be obedient to your master. Does not nature teach you that for a man to have long hair? I mean, it's madness. Or a guy named Paul, who born in a Turkey, can come look for me as a Rasta man. And me I read this thing in our Bible, say, nature teach you that for a man to have long hair, it's crazy. So tell me something now. What part of nature teach you that a man mustn't have long hair? What part of nature? When then them the dollar show you about Samson, who power in him ear and Delilah come cut it off. Joshua, Moses come out of the mountain with 7 locks. So how come now Paul come and tell me, well not me, I know me matter talk to you know, but people imagine Paul write some letters to some white people and black people take the letter like a Paul talk to them. Oh you're fasting at the man letter. You never hear about privacy. Paul put the letter to the Corinthians, letter to the Galatians, letter to the Ephesians. He never said nothing about letter to the Ghanaians. He never said no letter to no Ethiopian. Because him have a verge, as a matter of fact, him take up most of the scriptures than even where the man who's supposed to be the center of the scripture take up. So when Paul say nature teach you, what part of nature teach me? And I internalize it now because I Paul talk to. But I hear people say that. Say the Bible say. The Bible say. So where you
and you know, of course I can definitely rock with all what the king is saying there. You know, what is interesting is that our ones would be very, very strong on the point of Emperor Haile Selassie's hold on the Bible. And of course, you know, shall not be cut into portions. But when you bring in the scriptures of Paul, these same brothers will tell you, no man, we're going to deal with Paul. Paul write himself in the Bible, but, but the emperor speaks highly of Paul too. And somehow that don't pass, somehow that just don't pass the eardrum. They don't even comment on that. They say, boss, Paul is that man that. I know, but you said earlier that you know, Haile Selassie outlook on the Bible, he said this and he said that. Right, good. So you have to hold on to it. But now I'm telling you about Paul said this. You're telling me Paul is a liar and Paul is this and Paul wasn't writing to the Israelites, he writing to the Corinthians and the Philippians and XYZ, and you don't check Paul, and they write Paul in the Bible and so many different things. And I mean, I can tell you about Paul. We've done programs on Paul, but the emperor himself speaks highly of Paul, and as an example for us all and these kind of things. But anyway, I'm just putting that in. I'm not going to even try to break that down, but definitely that the reasoning from the brother here, it's all understanding too. Listening to everything coming down the line. You have different type of people, eh? You have hardliners, you have moderates, you have different sort of people, and whichever direction his pendulum is swinging, he's definitely swinging to the extreme of it. I guess a person just has to do what they have to do. But of course, in everything, get understanding, brother. In all the knowledge that you get, in everything, make sure you get good and clean understanding. Yes, family, give thanks, for your presence with us this evening, right here on the Tiger's Nest. Make sure you become a subscriber. What is that? When you subscribe to the Tiger's Nest, you get the Tiger's Nest in your inbox each and every day after the program is done and sealed up via your email. All you have to do is contact us, Priest Isaac Institute.com, the priestisaacinstitute.com. You are already on the website, so you could just skip over to the website and subscribe and get the Tiger's Nest each and every day mailed to you. Never miss another program. Obviously, it ain't nothing for you to miss. So give thanks, family. Give thanks to the love. Give thanks to the joy. We have so much more to take care of at this hour. Just keep an eye out. As we always say, there are many, many, many lions' dens, but there's only one tiger's nest. Rastafari live. Yeah.
some other man's wife. I'm intelligent enough to pick from the 10 commandments, not commandments anyway, but they were omissions of purity at the great school at Luxor, the great African training school. All right, now, let's get into this Western Asia. I'm saying that the people who came from Western Asia escaping famine did not have any Hebrew faith when they came into Africa. And there's no record of a Hebrew faith before that. Why is it that when they left Africa in the so-called Exodus, they had all three? African culture, an African religion, and an African language. Now look at the origin of so-called people you now refer to as Jews. And you're mistaken using that reference because the word Jew is of European origin. And the people in Europe who call themselves by their name have no relationship to the biblical people of the Hebrew faith. And I'm saying that the people we now call Jews entered world history with their visit to Africa. And when Africa was invaded, 1675 BC, instead of joining the Africans who had been their beneficiary and saved them from starvation, they joined the enemies of Africa. No one has has ever returned any favors to us. As a people, we have always been hospitable to strangers, mostly the wrong strangers. And what we have to understand now, in the period of serious brainwashing, is there is no European answer for African problems. Either Africans find a solution to African problems, or there is no solution, and if you don't find a solution soon, you go back into slavery. The shock of the hour.
While churches rose to the sky in Europe, in 12th century Africa, they were being carved out of the ground. These Christian pilgrims in Ethiopia are on their way to worship at one of them. In these highlands, in the 12th century, Lalibela, a new king from a new dynasty, built a new holy capital. Today, Lalibela's legacy lives on, in the physical splendor of the churches and the traditions of their guardian priests.
My blessed people and congregation, churches with no mud, no wood, and no cement. You cannot find anything like this in the rest of the world. You are all blessed because you are here. This place was built by God.
Every year on St. George's Day, pilgrims gather to celebrate a faith that has endured here for 16 centuries. These Christians claimed that God brought the Ark of the Covenant and the tablets of the Ten Commandments to their land. On holy days today, priests carry on their heads replicas of the tablets, wrapped in gilded cloth. The people of Ethiopia have been carving churches out of mountains for more than 1,000 years. But the 11 churches of Lalibela symbolize their achievement to the outside world. Become a legend, his story told by monks even today.
There was a city called Roha, where lived a man who belonged to one of the most noble of families, one of the richest in gold, silver, garments, precious stones, servants and maids. He had a child who became the mysteriously named Lalibela.
In the legend, the king's greatness was recognized at birth. A swarm of bees descended on his cot as if around honey.
mother named him Lalibela, which means the bee has recognized him as king. But these were not bodily bees, but angels who took bee form in order to announce his reign.
God sent one of his angels to bring Lalibela to heaven, to show him the most holy of churches. Lalibela, the story goes, ordered tools to be made to carve temples like those he'd seen in heaven. His craftsmen turned the wild mountainside into a new Jerusalem.
Meeting the Lion of Judah, Haile Selassie. It was a Meeting the Lion of Judah, Haile Selassie. It was a bleak autumn morning in London. I had just gotten out of my routine meditation when all of a sudden some friends of my host visited. They were very excited and told us that His Majesty, the Emperor of Ethiopia, had heard of my experiential yoga teaching and had expressed a desire to see me, a yogi from India. Haile Selassie, thrice great, from the house of Sheva, was also called the Conquering Lion of Judah, the same title held by King David in the Bible. Selassie was 225th in descent from the line of King Solomon. Soon we were driving along in my disciples' Austin, Cambridge. Our guides, who had established contacts with the House of Ethiopia, were very happy to be party to this great meeting. I was told to keep this meeting a secret because His Majesty was a guest of the royal family of England, and for all practical purposes, to the African and Rastafarian religious communities, he was thought to have left his bodily abode in 1975. However, this was untrue, as I recall meeting with him 7 years later in 1982.
It is good that you are here to record this picture of me in my palace garden at Addis Ababa. People who see this throughout the world will realize that even in the 20th century, with faith, courage, and a just cause, David will still beat Goliath.
Where to stand in the morning, and who told the ocean you can only come this far, and who showed the moon where to hide till evening, whose words alone can catch a falling star. Well, I know my Redeemer lives. I know my Redeemer lives. All of creation testifies this life within me cries. I know my Redeemer lives.
Meeting the Lion of Judah, Haile Selassie.
The very same God that spins things in orbit runs to the weary, the worn, and the weak, and the same gentle hands that hold me when I'm broken. They conquer death to bring me victory. Now I know my Redeemer
is good that you are here to record this picture of me in my palace garden at Addis Ababa.
Your Imperial Majesty, Bishop Debelius, delegates, observers, friends, ladies and gentlemen, when we were deciding about the program of this conference, there was one item that I was asked a little bit about, and that was what chief of state we might invite to come and greet us in the name of Christ. And we thought of several, but the one that kept coming back to our thoughts and our minds was that great country of Ethiopia, the land of the Queen of Sheba, referred to in the Old Testament as Punt, and we remembered the story in the book of Acts about the Ethiopian nobleman that was converted to Christ, baptized, and went back to Ethiopia with the gospel. And since that day, Christian kings and emperors have ruled in that enchanting and beautiful country. 35 years ago, there came to the throne Emperor Haile Selassie I. He established a written constitution. He established a parliament, a modern system of communication, built roads, hospitals, schools, and universities. And then the whole world became aware of him during the heroic days of the war. His Majesty is the protector of the state's Ethiopian Orthodox Church and is head of the church. And when he returned to his country on May the 5th, 1941, on that historic day, he announced to the world that in Ethiopia, Christian ethics in government, liberty of conscience, and democratic institutions would prevail in his country. The Emperor of Ethiopia is a man that goes regularly to church and is a worshiper of Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. When I had the privilege of being in Ethiopia for a campaign in Addis Ababa, when I spoke, all schools were closed, and the imperial family came and attended the services. And so we give a warm and hearty welcome in the name of Jesus Christ to our distinguished guest this morning, His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia.
You are not going to straighten up on any word from me.
Who is this man who holds the world in his hands? Who is this man who created our Savior and Lord He is. Everyone should recognize His majesty. Jehovah is ever living, ever faithful. In Him you are secure. Jehovah is reaching out to you. For you He's got a whole lot of things in store.
Best, bright, and the just cause.
Who is this man? We take a burdens to in pride. Who is this man who I felt at the altar? It is easy to find him. He's just a prayer away. You can call His majesty any night or day. Who is this man who has done so many wondrous things? Who is this man worthy of the praises I sing? I'm glad I have found Him, and I never let Him go. Wherever He leads me, I will follow. Jehovah is ever living, ever faithful. In Him you are secure. Jehovah is reaching out to you. For you He's got a whole lot of things in store.
Our guest today on Meet the Press is His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, Emperor of Ethiopia. The Emperor is a direct descendant of King Solomon and Queen Sheba, and he rules over the oldest Christian nation in the world.
I'm glad I have found Him, and I never let Him go. Wherever He leads me, I will follow. Jehovah is ever living, ever faithful. In Him you are secure.
As we definitely give thanks.
Jehovah is reaching out to you. For you He's got a whole lot of things in store.
David will still beat Goliath.
The life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie I. We do say blessed love to each and every one. Of course, you know, this is the time, this is the moment, and this is the hour. And of course, this is the shock of the hour. Honorable Priest Isaac here with you, with all intentions to have a wonderful get-together, to have a wonderful meditation, to have a wonderful vibration this wonderful evening as we go into the meditation for the hour. Of course, you know, this is just coming off of the full moon. I'm going to be touching a little bit on the whole science of the moon this evening, and also not too far away from just seven days, 7 days since the summer solstice. So I'll be touching a little bit on that as well. And we'll be going into a bit of history too. History not spoken of, but will be spoken of on another level. So, hey, we're just going to have a wonderful time as we always do right here on the Mystic Vibrations Shock of the Hour. And as usual, you know the whole vibes. You're in the tiger's nest. We have a very special presentation this evening. We have the Honorable Prince will be giving us the scientific fact of the day. And this one promises to be quite grand and dandy. Yes, Honorable Prince, what have you thou in store for I and I?
Blessed love, welcome to another edition of the Scientific Facts of the Day. Today's scientific fact of the day is about the brain.
All right.
So,
here we go, nervous system business.
So you need to know about neurons and nerves. So if you didn't know, nerves send messages to the brain. For example, if you touch something hot, the nerve will send a message to the brain to remove your hand. Neurons is what I want to talk about. Well, it's not going to be too long as well. But neurons actually help the nerves to send messages to the brain as well. So our brain has about 100 million neurons. That is the scientific fact of the day. That's it.
Okay, well, give thanks. Wow, that's some big stuff there that's coming there from the Honorable Prince. Give thanks. So basically we're talking about nerves and neurons.
Yes.
All right. And that's all a part of the nervous system.
Yes.
Okay.
And the brain.
And the brain.
We're actually drawing some things over here.
Oh yes, you are doing some brain works at the moment. You are actually drawing some brain, as you said. Well, anyway. But give thanks, Honorable Prince, for the scientific fact of the day, my lord. Let's say love. All right. Well, I mean, there you go. Wow. So getting into a little comprehension of the heavens, and as the Honorable Prince said, the brain and the makeout thereof. Listen, the program this evening, the Shock of the Hour. What it is, those of you who are not subscribers to the Shock of the Hour, are not getting it through the subscription, you might have to do a little research on your own, because there's something I want to highlight, but it is going to be visual somewhat. So, but what I'm going to do, I'm missing something here. I'm going to send the picture as such for my subscribers. So those who will receive this program here via the email, they will definitely, I will send them a few pictures relating to what I'm talking about here at the moment. All right. So basically, when those of you who have ever read the book, The Destruction of the Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams, you usually hear people mention this book, again, The Destruction of the Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams, when they speak about maybe the first book they came across, or the first time they actually even had an encounter with some level of knowledge and some vibration. It was really through that book, The Destruction of the Black Civilization. Now, within that book, and I'm telling you, it's been such a while, it's been a while, I should say, since I've held that book in my hand. So I can't even remember which chapter it was, but there's a chapter, I think, at the beginning of the chapter, because that was my first book too. Well, not my first book, but that's the first book that I bought, The Destruction of the Black Civilization. I think I would say the first book I ever got was Rastafari and Resistance. And I've told this story maybe several times, so more than likely you would have heard the story. Anyway, getting into the vibration. So I'm saying that when you look into the heavens, and you concentrate that the vibration is very deep. So what you understand is that the whole energy is that when you look at the as I said, the book, The Destruction of the Black Civilization, The Destruction of the Black Civilization is showing you, again, as I said, within the chapter, I can't remember the chapter, but it is speaking of Queen Candice, and Queen Candice herself is considered to be the Ethiopian queen, the queen in Sudan, and she's seen on like some elephants, some big elephants, and it is said in that book that she stopped Alexander the Great, and Alexander the Great now, so Alexander the Great himself was conquering Egypt, and at conquering Egypt, he was coming down, coming into Sudan, and coming into what is known as Ethiopia. And at the same time, when he was coming down into Ethiopia now, he met Queen Candice. This is why you see her on the elephants. This is why you see her with her whole band of women, you know, it's like the Amazon woman, it's like the Amazon queen. And at the same time now, standing even before them, Alexander could not battle her. It is said that he fled away because of, the terror that fell upon him. Remember, no, these wasn't just sisters like maybe on horses or on horseback or on camel or these sort of things. These were sisters on some giant elephants. Similar again to maybe the Amazon queens. Remember the Amazon queens in Dahomey, the Amazon queen in Benin, right? And they're the woman warriors. They're the one that stand up, against the enemy and defend the king and defend the crown and all of these different things. So you've seen something like that even with Colonel Gaddafi. His bodyguards, his sisters, his woman protect Colonel Gaddafi still in his movements. So anyway, I'm saying now, when you observe in that book, you see the what you may call it. You see the heavens, not the heavens. We don't reach to the heavens yet. You actually see the Queen Candice again in the artwork, sitting on the elephants, and at the same time, I think she has a spear, or her sisters have the spears in their hand, and they're defending, the nation, really. Now, according to that book, Alexander met her at the first cataract. Now, this is very, very important. You may say cataract, what was that? What's the cataract? Now, of course, the Nile itself has a cataract system. I've never really sailed down the Nile, so I can't give you the details, but from my understanding what the cataract system is, well, what a cataract is like a dramatic change. This is natural. This is a dramatic change in a waterway or in a path as it relates to a river. So in other words, like you would have a grand waterfall or something similar to that. It's usually something that is dangerous too. So you wouldn't find ships sailing down the Nile. Some people may say up the Nile because of how it looks on the map, but you know what I'm saying. You wouldn't find boats and ships sailing down the Nile as we may romantically believe. So at the same time, when we observe the whole vibration here, and we see the meditation, we observe what is taking place with the river Nile. As I said, the cataract, the first cataract itself is located where you have the Aswan Dam. And the Aswan Dam itself is something that is obviously, not real as such. So the first cataract actually cuts through Aswan at 23.08 degrees north, and just for knowledge, 32.88 degrees east. And it was directly selected for the construction of the Aswan Low Dam, or the first dam built across the Nile. Now, all of this is very, very interesting, especially when you understand astronomy, because it's astronomy I really want to get into here. When you understand archaeoastronomy as well, which is really the important essence even at this moment here. So we're looking at the latitude of the dam. And the dam is really, as I said, created. And this dam itself is, as I said, the first dam built across the Nile. Now, when you observe that, as I said, this is very, very important. This is where she met him at the Nile, at the first cataract. And this is very, very symbolic, keeping in mind that we're dealing with 24 degrees north as it relates to the latitude. Now, as I said, if you cannot see this on a map or anything of the sort, we will send our subscribers a photo of this so you can see where this is. Now, the reason why I'm, harping on this point for a while, and I just wanted to soak in really, again, the destruction of the black civilization. I just want this to soak in. Very, very important point. All right. Now, this is just basically 1 degree shy from what is known as the Tropic of Cancer. Now, if you understand that science, you know that the Tropic of Cancer is 23 degrees north as it relates to our latitude. And the Tropic of Capricorn is 23 degrees south. All right. Remember, there is a space of 23 degrees as it relates to the ecliptic belt and the elliptic of the planet. So in other words, the celestial equator, follow it good, eh? The celestial equator in relation to the ecliptic, where you'll find the zodiac belt constellations, has that 23.5 degree difference as it relates to the angle. All right. The 2 meeting points is where you would have the equinoxes. I know for sure that the main scholars here, unless they're joining for the first time, would have at least an idea of what we're talking about, for sure. So the point is now, that means because of that angle of 23.5 degree within the heavens, remember all of this is just apparent, eh? Nothing is really taking place. It's just the apparent movement. That is how it appears. So that 23.5 degree, what they call the obliquity, that's the 23.5 degree difference between the elliptic of the earth or the celestial equator, which will really map out to the same thing, the celestial equator and the zodiac belt ecliptic. Follow that good, right? I may have to send you some pictures of that too, but I mean, most of you would know, especially if you are a subscriber. That means you have the book. I don't have to send you all these pictures here, man. I really don't. If you are a subscriber and you're getting this program through the email, that means you have the book. The heavens declare the glory. That's for sure. So all of this is in the book as far as understanding the difference between the celestial equator and the ecliptic belt and the obliquity, which is the 23.5 degree angle difference between both, which of course, this is not a literal thing as such. It's because of the motion of the planet. You hear me? It's because of how the earth rotates. You with I? It's because of how the earth revolves around the sun. And of course, the earth in its own wobble, in as it relates to its, it has that same 23 degree angle. The earth is what has the 23 degree angle, what you would call perpendicular to the celestial north. Very important, or true north, which is the same celestial north. So because the earth has that 23.5 degree angle, tilt, and its wobble, it creates that 23.5 degree angle in the heavens as it relates to the ecliptic. And again, the ecliptic is really the pathway of the sun. The ecliptic Follow me, family. The ecliptic is the pathway of the sun. And the sun, as you would know, we just came off of the summer solstice. Now, as I said, we have that to talk about. We just came off of the summer solstice, and the sun was at its most northern point. You know, in the prime of the Pisces age, the sun would be in the constellation of Gemini. Like now, it's still more in Gemini than in Taurus for sure. But the point is that it's coming out of Gemini as we are approaching the Pisces age. We are already feeding off of at least 35% of the Pisces age. But we still, not Pisces, oh my, pardon me, Aquarius age. We are already feeding off of at least 35% of the Aquarius age. But we are still in at least 65% of the Pisces age. Pardon me, I want to be clear if I made a mistake there. Good. So in the Pisces age, the sun is in Gemini on the 21st day of June, which is the summer solstice. Let me repeat. In the Pisces age, the sun is in Gemini on the 21st day of June, which is the summer solstice. Right. We are, as I said, still in the Pisces age predominantly, but we are also going into the Aquarius age. This is not something that can happen overnight. You can't go to sleep and wake up and, oh, we're in the Aquarius age, and the Aquarius age began on the 21st of December 2012. No, that's not it at all. It's something that slowly is a procession, and it's because of the procession of the planet itself that creates that procession of the ages, the procession of what they call the equinoxes, but the procession of the ages is a better terminology. So this is deep understanding. But my point is, this 21st day of June that just passed, the sun was not in Gemini solid like how it would have been like, let's say, 1,000 years ago when we were in the climax of the Pisces age, even 800 years ago, 700 years ago, 6 to the most, the sun would have been smack between Castor and Pollux, who and Sap, not Castor and Pollux, who and Sap. Yeah, it would be right between both of them, bright shining, Gemini. But now it's already kind of wading out and will be going into Taurus. So Taurus would be the most northern constellation during the time of the Aquarius age. So in the next 1,300 years, 1,300, 400 years, on the 21st day of June, the sun will be right in the center of Taurus, on the 21st day of June. So you can look forward to that. And as I said, that's the 21st day of June, 1,400 years from now. You can look forward to that. And because we'll be in the Aquarius age, that means that when it's the spring equinox, the sun will be rising in Aquarius and no more in Pisces. On the spring equinox, like the 21st day of March, that just passed, and the one next year, the sun will still be in Pisces, but it's at the edge of Pisces, coming out of the Pisces zone, getting into the Aquarius energy. But this is a process that takes extremely long time. So I'm sure you really follow what I'm saying and comprehend what I'm saying for sure. And these are things we go over and over, not necessarily the same thing, but of course, repetition is the mother of learning. So I'm sure you have learned a lot from us going over this and going over this. In fact, what I just mentioned here is a new aspect of all what we've been going over. So it adds now to the flavor, understanding the procession of the ages. I hope I'm not speaking too fast. It's just that there's so many things to say. Right, good. But you can listen fast too. Yeah, man, some people listen very slow. Hold on. Let me write it. No. All right. So, but for now, we're dealing with the Pisces age. But for now, we're dealing with Gemini being the constellation at the most northern point of the ecliptic belt during the time of summer. So we're still with that, the sun in Gemini. You know, in Revelation, I think it's Revelation 11, it talks about the two prophets, and these two prophets had power to bring fire from out from between them, and they could destroy mankind at their will. They had that power, these two prophets. I think this is Revelation 11, you know. But anyway, still, the point I'm making is that at summertime, when the sun is, you know, at the longest day of the year then in the northern hemisphere, and summer is the fire coming, you know. Interestingly, when summer begins, the sun is between Gemini. And as I said, the Revelation speaks about these two prophets that had power to release fire from between them. So I just see it well balanced, and you see how the ancient heavens declare the glory and all of this kind of stuff. All right, so listen to me good now, family. What is happening here is that the solstices, what am I saying? The solstices really represent the sun at its most northern point. The solstices represent the sun at its most southern point. So I should say its most northern and southern point. So that's why you have the northern solstice and the southern solstice. Because to be straight, when you say the summer solstice, that's for the northern hemisphere, because it's not summer in the southern hemisphere. What we call the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere is the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. That's very important. But because we are one-sided and one brain and all of that kind of stuff, we just classify it as, you know, the summer solstice and America and all of that. America, you know where's America? When you say America, what do you think you're talking about? I'm an American. These Mexicans trying to get in here, they're not Americans, but that's Central America. I mean, they're not Americans, but that's Central America. And Canadians are not Americans too. How you go? But when we say America, somehow the brain process these United States. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know how I got that far. Yeah. Anyway, that's how it is. It's like Charlie's talk now. We just drifting and going all over the place. But really, we on point, man. No, we ain't drifting, no way at all. No, we ain't drifting. So as I said, the science of the heavens, though, is really where we are. And the solstice is 23 degrees, 23 and a half degrees. So at the solstice, listen to me, family, very important. At the solstice, the sun is at its most northern point, the summer solstice, the northern solstice, and that is 23 and a half degrees. It's not 24 degrees, it's not 22 degrees, and it's not 23.3 degrees. It's 23.5 degrees, and that's where it is on the 21st day of June. The day before, the day after, 2 days before, 2 days after, is very close, and the energy is very similar. But at that day, and not just the day, but the moment too, because there's a moment. Just like the full moon has a moment. People say, oh, the full moon is not, it's not full tonight, it will be full tomorrow night. I mean, okay, I understand. But there's a time when it becomes full. I like a literal moment. Bing, it's full, and then it starts to empty out again. If you get full, you get empty. As soon as it's full, beep, it starts to empty one time. Now, you may not notice it. It gives you this spectacle for the whole night. Even the night after still looks beautiful. Even the night before, you were saying, but wait, is sure not full tonight? You understand? That's the beauty of it, you know. So I'm just bringing all that in to give you an understanding of how the heavens moves in such a, you know, unassuming way. You know, there but still not there, moving but still not moving, just like the sun. You know, the sun moves very slow, it appears, but it moves, because by the time you blink and look, it's nighttime already. So the ecliptic now, this is very important. The ecliptic belongs to the sun. the planets and the moon don't necessarily move on the ecliptic. The ecliptic is a very precise thing. These other objects, the moon included, and let's keep on the moon for the moment. The moon has its own elliptic, but it's not necessarily it's not necessarily the ecliptic. Okay. Now, if the moon was on the exact path of the sun, you would have an eclipse every single new moon and full moon. Because when it's new moon, the moon is with the sun. When it's full moon, the moon is on the exact opposite side of the sun. But because they're in different elliptics, which the sun's elliptic is called the ecliptic. That is why, and the moon varies too, but I'm getting to that. That is why you don't have an eclipse every single time. You'll have an eclipse twice a month, every new moon and every full moon. Now what happens? In the same way, listen family, in the same way that the ecliptic would cross the celestial equator, you follow that? Is the same way that the ecliptic of the sun would cross with the elliptic of the moon. The elliptic is the line that the moon goes around on, or it appears. You know, remember, it's all apparent science, student family. Don't lose it here. It's all apparent science. It's when you lose it, that's why people tell you the earth flat and this spin around here and that, and you know, not to sound insultive. I never like to sound like if I diss nobody when I talk about that flat earth vibration. You know, I'm still looking for someone to come and have a sensible discussion on it. You know, everybody giving a job here and there and not coming and sitting down. You know, but anyway, that's all right. Let's get back to what we're talking about. So with all interest within this now, I'm showing you that the moon, because the moon has a different vibration as such, as it relates, you know, to its angle, and like some of the planets too, the planets are unique in themselves. The moon has what is known as a northern standstill and a southern standstill. Okay, listen to me, family. Now you may say, what's a northern standstill? If you were to give a guess, what do you think a northern standstill is? A northern standstill is the equivalent to the summer solstice for the moon. So when the moon is in, well, Gemini, then it's a northern standstill. When the moon is at its most northern point, it's a northern standstill. When the moon is at its most southern point, it's a southern standstill. So when we observe how this goes, this is deep, eh? I want you to follow me good. Remember, I just said that you don't have an eclipse every month. And I just explained that the elliptic of the moon coincides or crosses the ecliptic of the sun. So the reason why I'm highlighting this is because the sun now again crosses the equator of the fullness of I and I, the planet. Now, where the moon crosses the ecliptic of the sun is known as nodes. N-O-D-E-S, nodes. Again, I don't want it to be too heavy, but if you can meditate where the Virgin and the Pisces constellation are. Both of them are in the ecliptic, and both of them are on the celestial equator. Gemini is not on the celestial equator. It's way off, it's to the north. Sagittarius is not on the celestial equator, it's to the south. But Pisces is on the celestial equator, plus the ecliptic belt. Virgo is on the celestial equator, plus the ecliptic belt. That is why when the sun don't run on the celestial equator, the sun runs on the ecliptic belt. The zodiac constellations are not on the celestial equator, they are on this ecliptic belt. So the sun runs through the zodiac constellations one per month. But when it reaches to Pisces, Pisces is in the zodiac belt, but it happens to be on the celestial equator. Virgo in September, she's in the ecliptic belt, but she happens to be on the celestial equator, fall equinox, and Pisces spring equinox, equal day and night. Why? Because the sun is on the celestial equator. Same thing with the moon now. When the moon crosses the ecliptic of the sun, which is on both sides, that's when you have an eclipse, whether it's a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse. So it's like a tangle of circular, hula hoops, creating, if you look at it, the cycle of the moon, or the elliptic of the moon, the elliptic of the sun, which is the ecliptic, and the elliptic of Mars and Venus, all of them is like a hula hoop. Some of them twinkle around in the sky. It's beautiful. So listen to me good now. The northern standstill of the moon, and I won't be too long. I know I've been going on, but for me to get, it's Queen Candice we're talking about, but just the next level. It's just a next level. The northern standstill and the southern standstill, these are lunar standstills. I could go into, remember when Joshua stopped the sun, the Bible says, and the moon stood still in the valley of Avalon. Now, I could go into that too. Why they use that term? But of course, we think the moon, stand up in the valley. How the moon fit in the valley now? It's alignments. The moon aligned with the valley, and the moon had a standstill, a northern or a southern standstill. It's science. It's archaeoastronomy. That's what it is. There ain't no spooky vibes and the sun stand up. Yeah. But anyway, but what I'm saying here is that, but that's the major standstill and the major and the minor standstills. Those are the ones that stand out, and that happened in a 1 year period within a 18.61 year interval. So every 18.61 year or years, you have what is known as a major standstill and a minor standstill. And you may say, what were you carrying us there? Please listen to me. I don't want to break it down too heavy because I want to keep it on Candice. But it's important that I at least explain the basics of this. Now, what happens is this. The moon, because the moon has a different elliptic going around the earth, or what it appears like. On the northern standstill, the moon can go as far as 28 degrees north. Remember, the sun cannot pass 23.5 degrees north. That's where the sun goes, and like to the point. The sun don't go a little bit over. It goes there on the 21st of June and come back down. And when the sun reaches to the 21st of December, it goes 23.5 degrees south. It don't go no more. It don't go 23.6. That's the science. That's astronomical science. When the moon goes to the north, remember the moon does this every month. The sun does it once a year. Every month the moon going to the north, as far north as it can go. But it doesn't go 23.5. Well, at least not every month. If the moon goes 23.5 degrees to the north and it's a new moon or a full moon, that's an eclipse, because it's in the ecliptic belt of the sun. Well, listen to this. Sometimes the moon goes as far as 28 degrees north. Sometimes it goes as far in 18 degrees north, meaning that sometimes it goes higher than the sun goes, and then sometimes it's lower than where the sun goes. Do you understand that? When the sun is to the north, family, it's on a 23.5 degrees plane. It's on the Tropic of Cancer. That's its northern point. The moon northern point is higher than that. It's 28 degrees north. But the moon don't always go that far. It dwindles between. In fact, it only reaches that far every 18.61 years. So let's say every 18 years, 18 to 19 years. It does what is known as a major standstill, where the moon is at its most highest to the north. But at the same time, it's at its most lowest to the south. Man, it's a deep vibe. But anyway, let me not put too much more on that. Let's get back to Queen Candice. And this is why the map is important. And I consider this very, very high and interesting. Now, according to the book, Queen Candice stopped the fella there at the first cataract. Now, according to them, the Aswan Dam was built at the first cataract. Look at here. That's Aswan Dam. This is the first cataract. So Alexander the Fake was beating people all up here, coming down, or coming up, I should say, into the south. When they reach close to Aswan, what's that? It's a band of elephants with women, spears. No, we can't make no women beat us. Yeah, let's get them. Let's turn back. Did you see the size of those elephants? And Alexander turned back at the first cataract. Now, I don't know the date. I've not been able to find the date when that happened, because some people will tell you Candice. Because Candice is like a title, isn't it, princess?
The real name is Kandaki.
Kandaki.
Yes.
That is where you also get an offshoot of Makeda. Exactly. It's a deep science etymology here. So Kandaki now. So the Kandaki queen, so Candice, even in the Bible it talks about the queen Candice, the Ethiopian eunuch that was baptized by Philip. And some people would tell you it's the same Kandaki here. I doubt it, but the Kandaki is a title. It's like the Pharaoh. The Bible just says Pharaoh and Pharaoh, and Pharaoh is a very broad title. Good. So the Tropic of Cancer on the planet, so she didn't stop him at the Tropic of Cancer. She stopped him 1 degree above the Tropic of Cancer. But the Tropic of Cancer is where the sun goes to its highest point. Look right here. So when the sun is at its highest point, it is just 1 degree under the first cataract of the Nile. So in other words, as I said, I don't know the date, and I don't like to guess, but I actually believe that this event was taking place during the summer solstice. Now, I could be off because I don't have no facts in front of me, but just with my scientific thinking and understanding how the esoteric works, I believe that the sun was in Gemini. Because this was several hundred years ago. This was in the time when the sun would really be in between Gemini. The man here, the woman here, and the sun in the middle on the 21st day. And the sun would be right on the Tropic of Cancer. The same time she would be standing on the same Tropic of Cancer, waiting for Alexander the Fool to come up the hill and get a beating. Now, hear this. Hear this. You might say, okay, that's real cool. Remember Gemini, they make Gemini look like two men, eh? But Gemini is a man and a woman, and she's a woman. Now, hear this. One may say that, okay, you said the Tropic of Cancer, but that's 23.5 degrees. Look, there's not even a degree, it's half a degree. Let's take the half a degree into consideration, because it's very important. In astronomy, a half a degree is very important. Because remember, I just said now, the moon at its most northern point doesn't travel on the Tropic of Cancer. If the moon is on the Tropic of Cancer and it's a new moon or a full moon, you will have an eclipse in relation to the sun if the sun is on the same, the Cancer or what's the other one called? Tropic of Capricorn. This is deep, I hope I'm not carrying nobody.